Peace, and much love, y'all. It's your brother Moa Olodumare, and we are back once again for another episode of the Philosopher Study. I would like to, thank any and everybody who might just happen to stumble across this live stream and say, like, yo, I wonder what this brother is talking about. Let me stop by and see what's on his mind. As Jay Z had once said, you could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with me, and I truly, truly appreciate that. Um, it's been a while, y'all. It's been a while since we actually had a an official philosopher study live stream, and part of that is due to um not really having much to talk about. To be honest with you, I didn't want to just go up here and just spew nothingness when I can just sit and contemplate on things to actually talk about. But outside of that, I just, sometimes life be life, and as we say, and there's a lot of things going on here and there and here. And I'm not an internet person. I'm not like an internet dude, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really bother me too much to say like, yeah, I don't feel like doing it today. But we back in effect. We here, we in the building. And what I'm saying, I'm still trying these little sound things to see if they helping me out. I hear it on my end. Hopefully y'all can hear it on your end as well. But nevertheless, we get all that together. But again, thank y'all all once again for joining me, your brother Moa, here at the Philosopher Study. Now, today we're going to be talking about the confines of blackness. And before we get into it, yo, if you could be so kind to like, subscribe, and comment and all that good stuff on whatever platform you just happen to be on. But I would definitely appreciate it if you like and subscribe to Moa Studios and hit the bell icon so you can get all the notification as they come live. Because I might randomly go live like I did late last night, and just have conversations with y'all, man. It's not always just the philosopher study. Sometimes it's the philosopher studying. Yesterday it was just like a free session, and I just wanted to get thoughts out and things like that. So you never really know. But yeah, whatever platform that you're actually on right now, what I'm saying, please do what you can to get it boosted in the algorithm, in that algorithmic state or step, whatever. So I definitely appreciate the consideration of doing so. So let's get into it. So the topic of today's philosopher study is the confines of blackness. What do I mean by the confines of blackness? Well, it's always been a saying that I've heard a lot of people say over and over again, is that black people are not a monolith. We are not a monolithic people. We are not a we we're diverse in thought. We're diverse in this and that. And I agree, that's absolutely true. But when it's actually placed into practice, um, I don't really see that. There's always a version of what authentic blackness is versus non-authentic blackness, and everybody. I hate using the term everybody, but a lot of factions of black folks participate in this speech of being not non-monolithic, but in practice they definitely have um an idea of what authentic blackness actually is. So I want to go a little bit into some of the confines that we place upon ourselves when it comes to identifying as black people in general. um I mean, to I give you a case in point. I give you a case in point. Right now, I'm reading a biography of one of my favorite thinkers. His name is Glenn Lowry. His book is called Late Admissions, and it's the Confessions of a Black Conservative. See, now right there at that moment that I said Black conservatives, a lot of folks' minds were cut off immediately. What you mean Black conservatives? Turn off. Black conservatives. That must mean you're thinking like white folks, or you're trying to gussy up to white people, or whatever the case is. And it it gets annoying because one, everybody has a origin story of why they end up thinking the way that they are thinking, and it's not as cut and dry as one might assume. And when it gets down to it, and things just gets dismissed as you're thinking like white folks, acting white, you think white, act white, talk white, or whatever the case is. um I believe that's one, dismissive, and two, it's lazy thinking. It's a lazy way to engage with your fellow brother and or sister, just because you believe that we might think differently on a particular topic. um I'm reading this book by Glenn Lowry. Yeah, he's a black conservative today, but I mean, the brother's life, you probably never would have guessed that he grew up on the south side of Chicago, and grew up in the hood. He just happened to be a genius in the hood, and he had certain values. I'm still reading it. There was a time that he was a liberal, and then I think he went back and forth a few times, and times when he was a womanizer, time that he was addicted to crack cocaine, I believe, times that you know um he wasn't treating his the women in his life right, and wasn't the best father or whatever. But this dude, at the end of it, or at least currently, because he's still living, still ended up becoming what is defined as a black conservative. So things are not necessarily the way that they're always pointed out by the more popular or well accepted factions of blackness that we come in contact with. Like and it, so what I really hope for my people is that we get into a mode of thinking freely, a more of a mode of thinking freely. And that's not to say to we have to engage each other's thought processes. We have to engage different parameters of thought, different parameters of leadership and things like that, if we are to, as a people, to rise above the conditions that many of us are currently in. But when we're so quick to dismiss another brother or another sister due to their identification as either a conservative or a Christian or a spiritualist, or whatever the case is, I think it's a shame that many ideas that could be birthed gets thwarted out, um, unjustly and swiftly. So, me being the philosophical brother that I am, I decided to create the philosopher study, and become more courageous in allowing my thoughts to float into the um public square and things like that, and willing to engage anybody that feels they want to engage with whatever thought that I might have at the time, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. I'm not opposed to being proven wrong. I'm not opposed to losing a debate, but I'm definitely all for at least having the debate or having the discussion on various topics and things like that. But unfortunately, I believe in my case, um people might feel that they have me figured out, or they feel that um whatever whatever they might feel. I don't get invited to the black intellectual reindeer games. You know what I'm saying? I'm like a Negro, um Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, Rudolph the red-nosed Negro or something. Hey baby boo. Hey Ami baby. um and that's unfortunate. But however, things, these the support or lack of support or whatever the case is can't stop, won't stop. No diddy, unfortunately. The progression that I feel that I'm already on. I can't allow myopic visions of what blackness actually is, affect me to the point that I'm no longer going to delve into the topics that I feel that are necessary for me to delve into, just because outside sources don't see it as being authentically black. And first, second, and third of all, what the fuck and who the fuck are you to tell me what it means to be authentically black in the first place? um you know it's it's such a shame when we look at the history of many of the leaders in our community. Is always one faction here and one faction here. Whether you're either down with Malcolm or you're down with Martin. You're either down with W.E.B. Du Bois or you're down with Marcus Garvey. You're either down with Booker T. Washington or you're down with W.E.B. Du Bois or whomever. Time and time again, when leaders arise within our communities, those two prominent thoughts never seem to collaborate to see where one might fill in the gaps for the other. It just has to be like a get down or lay down gangsterism of sorts of, it's, fuck the big three, it's only big me, even in the realms of ideas. And I believe that that has been to the detriment of our community and things like that. So, you know, why don't we know more about the black conservative movement? And I'm not talking about some of these lames that's online now that just say that they're conservatives that literally are here to, mimic, you know, what they might call white talk or whatever the case is. But like, no, black folks that just have the sense of God, family, community, you know. And it's funny, the people that the main people that we idolize, like, brother, Malcolm and things like that. Most of our leaders in that sense, in the civil rights and stuff like that, would technically be more leaning on the conservative side than on the liberal side, because they're like, yo, God first, family second, community third. And we're going to have to take our own education into our own hands. These are the works of having autonomy, and having a direct influence on our own life, no matter what the outside opinions and governments and so on and so forth might feel about it. We know at the end of the day that we have our own sense of being that the world is going to have to deal with. That was the mindset then. I'm not really seeing that same gusto now. It's 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 been a shift of thought of, you know, no matter how high the wall is, that we're going to scale it. No matter how wide we're going to traverse it. Whatever the case is, we're going to meet and beat whatever obstacles that are in our way. And I don't hear that same pride, within uh too many black folks anymore. And it's almost to the point now is like, yo, if you point out that that you align with ideas of meritocracy, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, put me up against anybody and I'm gonna show how my work merits against someone else, and I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get because of the work that I put in. Those the ideas of meritocracy and that stuff is defined as white now. Like that's a white thought. And that's kind of crazy to me because um let's what about W.E.B. Du Bois? What about Carter G. Woodson? What about Richard Greener? What about all of the academic brothers and sisters in our lives and in our history that has shown and proved in rougher conditions than we are in right now that we can compete no matter what the obstacles are in front of us. When affirmative action got struck down, I swear I was the only brother that was on this internet space, damn near it seemed like, that was like, well, I guess we're just going to have to bust their ass when it comes to these academics. Like, you have to be so crazily good that you're undeniable. Why wasn't there anybody on MSNBC, CNN, and all these other places like, look, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I have faith in my people's intellectual capabilities that they are able to rise to any obstacle that might face them. You know, we come from a lineage of great thinkers. We come from a lineage of great philosophers, mathematicians, and so on and so forth, that I'm confident that whatever obstacles that they try to throw in our path, that we'll be able to overcome it with no problems. I mean, there was a documentary that said what? Tell them we are rising. You know what I'm saying? Like we used to say, yo, tell them we are rising, no matter what the obstacles that you place, we are rising. No matter what laws that you try to put in place to keep us out of these institutions of higher education, we're still rising. If you still want to block it so much, we're going to figure out a way to teach our own. Tell them that we are still rising. But now we're at a place right now that if we tell them that we have agency over our own selves and still tell them that we are rising, that has now somehow become the articulation of a white position. Really. So to stand in one's manhood, to stand in one's womanhood, to stand in one's personhood of divine affirmation of who you are and what you're here to do, and who you're here to be. It's like if you don't attach yourself to the oppressed narrative, you you are no longer identified as authentically black anymore. And that's the wildest thing to me. That's the wildest thing to me. That's something that I can't understand. That's something that I can't wrap my mind around. Not us who overcame 400 years of oppression, not the descendants of the people that showed history that we could build our own, that we could build our own neighborhoods and schools and businesses and things like that, that we could do all of these things. So you mean to tell me, like, yeah, well, Moa, they got destroyed by the white man and stuff like that, but you mean to tell me that they destroyed our chutzpah, as it were, as well, with the destruction of that neighborhood of that time? We look at that history and decide to take on the narrative that we can't and we ain't, instead of saying, look, this is something that our people built in a time that was more objectively racist than it is now, and we can do it now today. I don't know, yo. And the thing is, with the love that we all have for Brother Malcolm and stuff like that, I don't think he would be on the side of most of these people that's claiming that they're for black liberation. So, we're going to have and establish think tanks of sorts, various think tanks within our community. We're going to have to we're going to have to develop think tanks within our community to solve the very present problems that are in our community. If you bout it, because look, I'm gonna keep it 100% real with everybody. I'm down for being the community leader. I'm down for doing what we have to do to ensure that the literacy rates of our children are raised to a proficient level. I'm down for whatever work that entails. However, I'm not blind to the fact that my primary responsibility is to my children. So if the community, as it were, don't want to get down with the program, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I'm not going to sit here and fight with you. I'm not going to sit here too long and try to convince you otherwise and things like that. I don't have the time for it, because while I'm trying to change the world, I still have two children to raise. And if the community won't get this work, my children will. And I'm gonna do whatever I can as a father to ensure that my children are equipped in this world to be able to navigate in this world, to end up doing whatever it is that they feel like doing in this world. You're going to have to be a scholar no matter what it is, whether it's through academics or whether it's through trade schools. You're going to have to master whatever subject that it is so you can start to demand the price tag that you put forth. You have to make yourself valuable. You have to um, assess yourself to see what value you can bring, and then go out and get that value that you're worth. You know what I'm saying? And this is the hard work. I would love to say, like, yo, man, we got the whole PTA at this elementary school on one accord, that this is how we're going to lead our children. I would love that. I would love that, and I will do the work that I can to ensure that that happens. But if it gets to the point where I have to choose, that am I going to keep on beating my head against a brick wall to try to get people to see, or am I just going to be like, well, I tried, and I'm gonna have to, shift my focus more so to my children and things like that. It is what it is. It is what it is. But when we talk about things like revolution, when we talk about these things, like, look, man, it's not going to be this. It's going to be like this. It's going to be planting the seed for the tree that you don't get shade from, that you're not going to get to enjoy. But it's going to be for the generations that come after you, and the generations after that, and the generations after that. The work that has to be done in our community is going to take more than one lifetime to fully actualize the fruits that we're trying to produce. Now, of course, we're going to see some degree of it, but to this utopic level of change that we're trying to articulate, nah, man, that's going to take lifetimes. And we can't be so selfish in this lifetime that we're blind to the fact that, now we don't want to do anything at all. That's not going to help, anybody, in that sense. So, um I kind of spoke on it a little bit yesterday, but what I believe what has to happen is we have to see value of each other's black experience, um and find a way to interlock these different levels and um develop a program or a platform. Come on, man. This is stuff that's been said for years. This is not nothing new. But I do believe where I am singular at, as and again, I spoke on this last night as well, is you know, I at first I was a critic of W.E.B. Du Bois's stance of the talented tenth, but and I know he did end up revising it later on in his life and things like that, and because I saw it as like a snobbish kind of position to take, but I kind of understand it more at this point when especially overall they're our people are suffering from a mass immaturity that would produce the environment that would elicit any kind of lasting change. So my idea is to kind of alter the 10% and apply it to each socioeconomic level. So when we say the talented 10th, the top 10% of those that are in poverty, in the middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, and the wealthy. If the talented 10th from each of those uh, uh, strata of black people can converse and with one another, respect each other's humanity, and all of that good stuff, I believe then we can actually sit down and have a conversation amongst each other, and then develop a cohesive plan on the political level, on the community level, on the educational level, and so on and so forth. Because the talented tenth of those that are in poverty, they can articulate what the issues are looking like on that level, and same for the middle class, the different middle class levels and the wealthy levels as well. Each level, each socioeconomic level would be able to articulate their um black experience in such a way that we understand the humanity with each other, um despite our levels that we're on socioeconomically, and and there's always something that can be learned from anybody if you have the ear to hear it. There are things that the wealthy can learn from the poor, and things that the poor can learn from the wealthy, because life lessons aren't always necessarily tied to monetary value. I mean, I would argue that more often than not, it's not tied to monetary value. But because if you got the money, but you don't have the self-confidence, or if you don't have other non monetary attributes that can help develop you into a full human being, you're still going to be a fragmented human being with just more to spend at your disposal than some of your peers. But what if the wealthiest of us understood what was going on in the plight of those that are in poverty, and instead of just waiting on or what I say, or should I say, while we're waiting on various programs and stuff like that to go through, we still have a sense of existence that's beyond the paycheck of government involvement. But I'm not a radical in that sense to say that everything has to be totally independent of anything else. I believe that there's a multitude of great um programs that we can take advantage of to help benefit our people. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and in that sense, as a librarian, I try my best to be hip to the opportunities that can help my people pull themselves up. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have your high school diploma, yo, come to the public library and we can help you get your library diploma with a concentration in a career field, and you'll graduate with an actual diploma and not a GED. Um and again, a concentration in a particular field, which can then catapult to further education at the junior college or the technical college. Then next thing you know, you getting your bachelor's. Next thing you know, you getting your masters and PhDs and so on and so forth. If that's the route that you choose to take, because like although I'm in the process of finishing up for my masters and I plan on getting higher degrees and stuff like that, I plan on going back to this trade school as well and learning a trade. Like at least I need to know how to fix small engines or some kind of carpentry or whatever. I need to know some kind of blue collar skill to be useful in a situation where I might have to build something, or I might have to fix something, or I might have to, it's always good to have those tangible, skills as well to accompany your intellectual ambitions, abstract thought, and things like that as well. And I believe again that that's a situation where W.E.B. Du Bois and Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington could have collaborated instead of having our people pitted against one another. Both of them were right in a sense. Both of them were right in a sense that, like, yeah, we can compete and participate in abstract thought and things like that. However, we do need to see the value and the beauty of physical labor just as much as we see the value and the beauty behind writing a poem. Booker T. Washington was correct on that, because had we continued the route of Booker T. Washington and focused on some of the manual labor's jobs and things like that, we would be in the position of our rising Mexican population than being in the position that we're in right now. We let go of being the skilled labor in the pursuit of the higher education, vis-a-vis abstract thought philosophies and so on and so forth. And this is coming from a philosopher, but my philosophic ass need to go back and be like, yo, I need to make sure that I have a skill that can pay the bills if things ever get super real. Do I know how to fix a car? Do I know how to fix a flat tire? Do I know how to build things? Do I, these are human skills that will always be valuable, and it would behoove anybody to have these. It will behoove our community to train our children in that way, in appreciating the blue collar, professions, and while they pursue their higher educations, their abstract thinking and things like that in universities. Is We can do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, and that's basically what I'm trying to get at. And I believe that's something that it has to happen. Um, I mean, in one sense, just to give our people as many, opportunities as possible to find fulfillment in employment, or some kind of work, um, whatever path they just might happen to choose. You know what I'm saying? But we can't continue to have these confines of blackness around ourselves that we're saying like, oh man, you trying to do, man, that's white people shit, or we have to expand, our humanity, of blackness, as it were, to apply to as many factions of that as possible. This is not to say that you have to agree with it. This is not to say that you have to like it, but it's something that you just have to acknowledge and be able to see the humanity behind, because not just by not being able to see the humanity of, say, LGBTQ plus brother or sister, um, that might block the opportunity from for collaboration on the idea that's in that person's head. Yeah, you don't agree with their lifestyle, but who gives a shit? And for that person, who gives a shit that these people don't agree with your lifestyle? It is what it is. Um, but for our issues, you know, too many of our people would get just titled as coon or you Uncle Tom or blah 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 or whoop whoop whoop. You never even really got a chance to hear where I'm coming from. You never really got a chance to see from my perspective. And everybody loses that way because you're so caught up in things that really don't matter when it comes to the subject that we were talking about, which is supposed to be the elevation of our community. And there might be ideas in the heads of the people that you might not get along with or might not agree with their lifestyle. But what you going to do about that? You're going to stay within the confines of blackness just because you're so married to your prejudices that you're going to that you're going to bypass any particular solutions. I think we've been doing that for far too long, and I believe that that's been biting us in the ass, overall as a people. So, what we're gonna do about that? What are we gonna do? We always say again that black people are not monolithic, but anytime that we do some non-monolithic shit, we get called coons or any other kind of disparaging things. Like, no, my nigga, open up your mind. Open up your mind and read from the perspective of people that both agree with you and people that disagree with you. How else are you going to grow? How are you just going to call a black conservative a coon or kissing up to the white man or whatever if you never had the conversation with the man or the sister? Like legit people are saying like, man, I don't fuck with Candace Owens. I don't fuck with Candace Owens because they're like, and most people never read her book, never listened to a long form discussion or anything, or not really even understanding where this sister actually might be coming from because they either just listen to news clips and 30-second clips, or it's just known that it's fashionable to hate this person, so they hate this person because you don't want to get picked on for not hating this person. And I'm not saying that to say that everything that this sister says is right, or everything that I agree with or whatever the case is. But I was like, yo, I've read her book and I've listened to long form discussions that this sister has been in, and there's nuggets of truth in what she says. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they had that revolt conference years ago with her, Ti, Killer Mike, and a bunch of others and stuff like that, Killer Mike stood up for Candace and saying like, "Yo, the same thing that she's saying is the same thing that Minister Farrakhan has been saying for the past 30 years." I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! You- now people are like, like, what you mean? What you mean? Because people are not being open minded enough because you have been told from the outset to hate this person without giving them a fair shake, and we're all guilty of it to some degree." I'm not the biggest fan of Ibram Kendi and all of them. You know what I'm saying? I haven't read his book, but I have listened to a lot of his long form discussions. And I don't get down with it. You know what I'm saying? I disagree with that brother's um, perception of our people overall, especially when you're speaking it from a position of privilege and power while you're telling the rest of the people that we're stamped from the beginning. I disagree with that. How come you ain't stamped in, my nigga? How come I'm the only one that's stamped in this position? You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, people like him, I've never seen actually stood on his square to actually have a legitimate debate on the positions that that they take. And I can't get with that. I can't get with someone that's positioning themselves to be a thought leader or a leader of any kind of sort and did not have, and we don't see any evidence of you defending your points against someone else who um someone else's opposing view, at least a discussion. It doesn't have to be a straight up debate or whatever, but like, yo, I mean, um there's no pushback ever, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're not articulating on it, or you're not standing on it, you're not, and that just brings about red flags for my liking. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how I get down with it. But and then it'll be so easy because it's a war of language and definition as well. And like, these words are played with in such a in so many different ways that a disagreement can be construed as you siding with an oppressor. It's like, nah, my nigga, I just disagree with what you're saying. Jeez. Like, one thing doesn't mean that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we have to get past that. We have to get past that. And this is not to say that we're all going to end up being on the kumbaya level necessarily, but maybe the Pan Africanist and the Black Christian can sit down and realize that they do have certain things in common, so that we can see the humanity behind one another. That's another thing. That's another thing. It's the identities that we hold, even under the umbrella of blackness, are so strong that we fall in love with our identifiers, to the detriment of the actual uplifting of the community. If Black Christians and Black Muslims can team up together, we would probably be in a better spot overall. But they will use their identity and their religious persuasions to be like, I divinely cannot team up with this person, because my holy book says that this person is a demon or demonic or whatever the case is. And what a shame. What a shame. What a shame that we're blocking ourselves uh, from being able to participate in the exchange of ideas because someone happens to have a different cultural expression of themselves than we do. It's like, when if one is a Christian, like everybody in the room has to be that. If you're a Muslim, everybody has to be that. If you're, what I'm saying, we're so divided. We're so divided on everything. It's like we look for reasons to divide ourselves. We look for reasons to build idols in between each other, and then we worship that idol with the fervor of that would bring about actual change if we actually applied it to do so. But we even get to the point where we are giving divine reasons of why I am not teaming up with my brother. We're giving up divine reasons of why I'm not collaborating with my sister. We're giving divine reasons. Oh, we're unequally yoked. We're on this, that, and the third, and all that. Blah, blah, blah. Whoop de whoop. Yo, brother Malcolm said, keep your religion in your pocket, yo. But there's a difference between your religious freedom and your political power, and we have to start focusing more on the political power aspect of it. And and if we choose not to, you can't call someone that's like, look, I'm gonna look out for my best interest. Then you can't end up calling that person a coon or whatever racial epithet that you want to call them, because within the confines of our own community, we can't get along enough to bring about any meaningful change. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm the leader of my family, and I have to do what I have to do to ensure that my family is in a better position because I exist than not. I would love to bring the community along, but at the same time, if not, hey, the Bible also warns against casting pearls before swine. Just saying. But yeah, there's a post that a sister put up saying like, we need like an interdisciplinary research group, that consists of, mathematicians and philosophers and educators and spiritual leaders and the like. Excuse me. She's absolutely right. And it's going to have to include those from various perspectives, because not one person might be all right, but not they might not be all wrong either. But yeah, that's just some thoughts and things that a brother had today, man. I think I might wrap it up a little early today. I appreciate Instagram, my folks that's been listening in on Instagram. We've been showing some love. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people tuned in on the gram. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the most I had on the gram. So I appreciate that. I'll start doing more live streams. That will include over there as well. And I appreciate y'all again for tuning in and listening to your brother Moa of the Philosopher Study. And we'll holler at you next time. Peace.